All right, starting from scratch. Sorry for the technical difficulties there.
Hello, Richard Hart.
Hello, again.
It's an honor to talk to you. You're the architect of BitcoinHex. Before you were just a YouTube influencer.
No, that's not true.
Okay.
I've done a lot of things.
Yeah,
YouTube influencer being the absolute least of those things.
What I like about you, you say you all were already rich before you bought Bitcoin. So that's also
Yes.
something that speaks for you. You started your career on YouTube.
No.
As a YouTuber, I'm partial to what you do on YouTube. So with self-help
Yeah,
videos.
yep.
So that's also something I admire and that I respect deeply.
Okay, great.
And you also prevented a lot of young beginners in crypto to buy too many altcoins.
I tried. I didn't. The problem with that was I screwed a lot of people by doing that because I was shit talking Ethereum probably in the hundreds. I think I came out publicly doing it early 2017, and it went up faster and at greater amplitude than Bitcoin did. So all my friends that I convinced not to buy Ethereum weren't happy about it. And the only ones that are kind of happy about it now are the ones that I guess got wrecked from January onward in 2018. So you can't, the problem with giving price advice in crypto is that you can be technically right and price wrong. So in this fantasy world that is cryptocurrency, a currency can be 51% attacked and the price not go down, like Ethereum Classic. So complete total failure of the currency doesn't move the price down much. So it's not a very rational market. So you got to be careful giving price advice along with technical advice, because you be technically right and price wrong.
Yeah, the markets can stay longer irrational than you can stay liquid.
Yeah,
I think it's a saying or something.
close. It's good enough. I think the technical definition is, or the common colloquialism is, that the market can stay irrational longer than you can stay solvent.
Yeah. Charles, do you want to ask the first question?
Yeah, sure. You talked a lot about BitcoinHex in your last live streams, and a lot of people were pretty sympathetic to that idea, but they didn't really challenge you. And I want to do this different this time. So
You
first
missed
of all,
the Peter McCormick interview, I guess. That was a very combative interview, as I hope this one will be as well.
oh, I didn't see that. Oh,
It's okay.
Well, first of all, could you explain really quick for all the listeners, what is BitcoinHex, what are you trying to do, and how you do it?
I have a very simple belief system in regards to what makes cryptocurrencies valuable, and I have a very simple belief system as to what makes blockchain useful. So blockchain is a very slow, very expensive database, which is the worst possible technology that you can use for a database unless you need censorship resistance. If you need censorship resistance, then you get a large reward for the high expense and the slowness and the limited throughput, and that is that you can still write to the network when no one else wants you to. Even if miners don't want you to be able to write your blocks to the network, you can just mine your own blocks, right? You can join at will and leave at will, which federated systems don't really allow, and systems that allow you to roll back the chain don't trustlessly allow. So who needs a blockchain? The only people that need a blockchain are people that need censorship resistance. And who needs censorship resistance? Well, it depends on where you live, right? So if you live in a country where the laws are crappier, well, then you may need this more, right? Like if you live in a country with currency controls that don't give you the freedom to do with your personal wealth what you will, they don't let you move your money out of the country. They keep your money a slave, and to some degree you, for what is that money if not a representation of your hours of effort? Those people need censorship resistance. So cryptocurrencies in general definitely need censorship resistance, so they need to be on a blockchain. And then the question is, okay, well, what makes one cryptocurrency better than another? My belief's very simple. A cryptocurrency is only game theory plus trustlessness. That's all it is. And then the question becomes, well, what's better game theory? So in Bitcoin, they have mining. And what mining originally was, it was less of a method to secure the network and more of a method to onboard new users. A currency that you're the only person that uses is useless. if you believe in Metcalfe's law, which is the value of a network is in direct proportion to the square of its users, which means every new node on the network can connect with all the other nodes on the network. And then back to it increases geometrically or exponentially. You'd have to figure that out. They're very similar. The point is, you being the only person using a cryptocurrency is crap, so you need to bring new users in. Bitcoin did that by allowing you to mine at home on your CPU, which brought a lot of people in. Oh, I can get free money at home, just mining. Then this was when there was no money in it at all, that had no economic value. You couldn't even buy a pizza. Bitcoin didn't actually get an economic value to a year after it started, when someone bought a pizza for 30,000 Bitcoins or 10,000 Bitcoins. They might have bought 3 pizzas for 30,000, something along those metrics. It was in the X with 4 zeros at the end, number of Bitcoins. That was the first time it ever had an economic value. And at that point, you could say, okay, now the hashing power isn't just a way to onboard new users, it's actually a way to secure the network. Now here's the problem with that. An intelligent attacker is going to use the quickest and most affordable method to attack your network. It is much, much easier to attack blockchain systems through making them illegal or looking for bugs in the software. Both of those work very well. I'm not sure about the illegal one. It's to be tested. Most of the countries that have made it illegal are smaller, crappier countries, like Iran or Cuba. There's like one African country that might have did it. Maybe Malaysia. So the point is, the dream that hash power protects your network from attackers because they're not going to be able to buy all these chips and fab them out and compete with you. And if they did, you're just going to have a proof of work change. It's very stupid. A blockchain is actually socially enforced, not hash power enforced. So there was a time when Bitcoin Cash had more hash rate than Bitcoin. But Bitcoin Cash is now worth 2%, 2.5%, 3% of what Bitcoin is. Now, why is that? Even though it had more hash rate for a period of time. Because it doesn't matter how much hash rate you have. It matters how much hash rate you have that I care about and that the other participants care about. And if you have more hash rate that plays by the wrong rules, or you have more hash rate on a different chain, that hash rate doesn't matter. So this concept that proof of work is the end-all be-all way to secure a blockchain is actually very stupid. It's not the proof of work that does it. It's people continuously monitoring what's going on and deciding and lobbying publicly and voting with their nodes, right? So what was No2x and UASF? That was people just running nodes, not miners, that said, we're going to accept blocks under 2 megabytes and we're not going to accept blocks over 2 megabytes. It was actually 1 megabyte at the time. Still 1 megabyte. So what did that do? It showed that even though the miners wanted something else and signaled for something else and had the economic majority and mass behind them, the users mattered enough to veto it. And so we got SegWit and they didn't get 2 megabyte blocks, right? So we got the SegWit from signaling and turning it on, and they didn't get their 2 megabyte blocks. Why am I telling you all this? Blockchains are only necessary if you need censorship resistance, like a cryptocurrency. A cryptocurrency is just game theory plus trustlessness. Okay, well, can you get trustlessness a lot of places now, very affordably? Yes. You can get trustlessness from a lot of different blockchains very affordably, and it's very unlikely that your transactions will be rolled back. It's very unlikely that you'll be hacked. When's the last time you heard of a Dogecoin user sending his comedy currency and having a transaction rolled back? Blockchains work fine, and all of these forks of the old Bitcoin system work fine because Bitcoin worked fine back then. So if trustlessness is affordable and hash rate doesn't even actually protect you, it's a social consensus which protects you by measuring that it's the right hash rate, playing by the right rules, right? Well, then all that's left is game theory. Everything else is a commodity. The hash rate's a commodity, the trustlessness is a commodity. The game theory and brand awareness is not a commodity. You can press fork on a piece of software and you will not create as good a copy. Or Ethereum Classic would be worth more than less than 5%. Or Bitcoin Cash would be worth more than less than 5%. So all of these forks that I'm aware of, none of them is currently worth more than 5% of the original. So how do you improve the game theory? What makes a cryptocurrency's game theory better? Well, you want the guys that get in early to get rich. You want them to be able to get even richer, telling all their friends to get in, right? To prime the pump. That's the reason we have halving of the issuance rate of Bitcoin every 4 years. So right now it's 12.5 blocks 12.5 coin reward per block, which is every 10 minutes. In another year or two, that will drop in half to whatever half of 12.5 is, 6.25, right? When I got in, it was 50 per block because I got in 2011, a couple halvenings ago, I think 2 halvenings. So what can you do as a new currency? Well, I mean, I've been talking for a long time. I want to make sure that you guys get your questions in. Like, am I answering your question? I can't remember what the question was.
I have a contextual. Yeah, Charles.
I asked you about Bitcoin Hex, and then, well, we talked about, or you talked about.
Right. So I think I think you asked me what the difference was. Bitcoin Hex is not a proof of work currency. It's a hybrid. So the most secure proof of work currency in the world that you can actually build tokens on is not Bitcoin. Every once in a while, Bitcoin screws everyone that tries to launch a token on it, which was the opcode wars, which is the reason that Ethereum is its own chain. Ethereum was originally designed to be a add-on to Bitcoin that used the Bitcoin blockchain for its logic, but nobody in the Bitcoin ecosystem wanted that. So they kept making it harder and harder for people to append extra data to the blockchain that wasn't just transaction data. So Ethereum went and did its own chain, right? And now we've had $4 billion startups that have launched and made $4 billion having an ERC20 token on Ethereum, which in this case would have been EOS, which then launched their own chain, right? TRX was an ERC20 token that launched their own chain. These are multi-billion-dollar projects that all launched on ERC20 coins and had no problem doing so. So if you're going to launch your own game theory and your own token logic, you only have 2 options. You can either launch on Ethereum, which has the most testing, the most people with bug bounties catching problems, the most people working on scaling, the most developers, the most tools for development, right? You can launch on there, right, and be under ERC20 or ERC223 and ERC721. I chose ERC20 for a bunch of technical reasons I don't know that your audience would understand, but it is the right choice. Or you can go try and be your own token with your own SHA-256, which gets 51% attacked easily whenever someone wants to, or has a proof of work change, which gets attacked easily when everyone wants to just go on nice hash and buy some hash rate to throw at you to crush you, right? So the most secure possible way to launch a new cryptocurrency with new game theory is as an ERC20 token. If you do those other methods, it is at your own risk. You are much more affordably attacked. To attack me as an ERC20 is unaffordable. To attack those other coins like, Ravencoin or people that have done proof of work change and forked Bitcoin, it's very simple to attack.
Okay, so what I don't understand about Bitcoin Hex is you have a pretty elaborate plan on how you plan to distribute these coins by staking and all that.
Yes.
But what I don't understand is how does this token or coin does get any value? Because at some point you have all these people who have all these coins because they staked, and they probably want to flood the market with that, or they want to buy maybe some real Bitcoin or whatever, Ethereum or whatever with that. But why would somebody give them Ethereum or Bitcoin for these tokens? So why would they have any value at all?
See, I can tell that you are not a speculator, because if you were a speculator, you would already understand that these coins are worth billions and billions and billions of dollars for no particularly good reason. Coins with no adoption, bad teams, hacked, garbage, worth billions of dollars. So you're asking me a silly question, right? I can tell you technically why my coin is awesome, but why people are so interested in buying something that is experimental and new and doesn't work sometimes, we went from 0 to 20,000 on that idea. So I can't explain it to you, right? You can't spend Bitcoin anywhere. It was worth $20,000. And I believe the price will go up to all-time highs again within a year. Year to 2 years, we'll be at all-time highs again. We'll have $30,000 Bitcoin. You'll be asking yourself, why are people buying this? It just doesn't make any damn sense, right? That's because you don't understand the market. You don't understand what the market wants, right? That's your problem.
Well,
now, I can tell you, I can give you a list of 100 coins that are fucking terrible, that are worth billions of dollars. And your answer will be like, I don't get it. I just don't understand it. What do you want
well,
me
I
to tell you?
agree. I agree. There are a whole bunch of shitcoins out there, but
yeah, but they're not shit, right? So let's talk about why you bought a cryptocurrency, right? Do you have bags of cryptocurrency you hold?
we'll never talk about your Bitcoin, your cryptocurrency.
Right. Okay,
So,
but I assume
like
that since you
cryptocurrencies.
like Bitcoin, you probably own some Bitcoin, right?
Sure.
Aren't you a little bit pissed off that people that bought into Ethereum made more money quicker than you, even though you, as the honest Bitcoin maximalist, did the right thing and didn't support the ICO scams and didn't support all the people getting hacked by having turn complete things that allow you to hang yourself with a lot of rope, right? Lucky, honest you, right?
Sure.
Because you didn't, right. But guess what? No one gives a shit about that. That is not what people care about, right? You have to follow what the market wants. Or you can just, keep pretending. Like, let's take a look at ICOs, right? Where did ICOs market? Facebook. You see any Bitcoin ads on Facebook? No, because it can't afford to. Because it's tragedy of the commons. Because you honest guys that are doing everything so legit and so well can't afford to buy a fucking advertisement. Because you don't own a large enough stack of the currency to make enough money on a new customer to pay the cost of acquisition to get a new customer in. Which is why you get shit stomped all over every media channel and every marketing medium by the guys that have higher margins, which a lot of them are just straight scams, right? Like ICOs and whatnot. So I can legitimately say that if only 1% of people stake their Bitcoin Hex, that you will make 370% interest every year, 369% interest. You'll probably make more than that because there's a few other extra profit centers above and beyond just the inflation. And that's mathematically true, right? Now you tell me what I can do in Bitcoin to make 370% a year. And that 370%, that's not even including the appreciation of a currency that you got for zero, right? So what's your estimated return on investment for something that you bought for zero? And if only 1% of people stake it, you're getting 4x your stack basically. You can't compete.
But how do you get 4x if everybody gets all this money, right? Everybody gets all these tokens by staking.
Right. Mm-hmm.
Why would somebody give you anything for these coins when all these people have these coins by staking?
Right. See, you're missing. So you have to understand how shares work, right? I had to put this in a chart. Shares in a company mean that you take the profit of the company and you divide it up amongst the shareholders. And if the profit is static, but the shareholders can go up or down, the only metric which changes how profitable you are is how many other shareholders are competing with you for that same profit. That's the reason you can get hundreds of percent, thousands of percent of return in a system which has a very low inflation rate of a very large mass, the whole currency, being shoved into a very small pool of stakers. Now, I don't think that there will only be 1% of stakers. I think the number of people that will be able to participate in rounds with 1% staked, there may never be 1% staked. I mean, the first round's payout, the 7 days after launch, it's probably 7 days, it might be 10 days. We haven't decided exactly how long that period will be yet. Right now it's 7. 2 weeks ago it was 10. It may never be 1%. The number of people staking their coins for all those extra bonuses is very likely to exceed 1% because the bonuses are so good. So if 100% of the currency was staked, the inflation is 3.69%. If half the currency is staked, your return on investment in the share pool on average is 2x. If only 25% of the currency is staked, the share pool profit is 4x because it's taking the same static amount of profit and shoving it into 4 times less people, right? If only 10% of people stake, it's taking the inflation of the whole currency, a lot of energy, right? And shoving it into a very small number of people, which amplifies their returns individually. Now, in that pool, if you stake longer, you get more shares, which reduces the payout of people that stake less long than you in the same pool. So there's kind of a war for staking longer because you get 20% extra bonus shares every extra year you stake, just like you do in the real world. In the real world, I modeled certificate of deposit CD returns, and it appears that they pay you about 10 to 20% extra for every extra year longer you stake in comparison to what you would have been paid less, right? So you get maybe an extra percent for staking an extra 2 years, 3 years, right? You go on bankrate.com and look up the average CD rates. So I modeled what we do in the real world where people get paid extra interest for locking up their money for longer, and I just put it on the blockchain. Except in the CD world, you don't get paid more if less people use the CD product. But in this product, you get paid more if less people use the lockup function because we're keeping a static interest rate for the whole currency, which has a lot of mass, and we're shoving it to the little pool of people that want to lock up their coins. That's the way you can get hundreds of percent return on something that inflates less than Bitcoin does. Last year, Bitcoin inflated 4.12%, 4.1 something percent. I think it's averaged down now to like 3.6 future forward. So we should be tied with Bitcoin inflation currently.
Well, maybe I just don't understand the concept enough.
You're not going to. You can't explain to me why any other altcoin that's not Bitcoin is worth billions of dollars. That's your problem.
Well, because people thought that could be the next Bitcoin, so that could be the next world reserve currency someday, maybe ever. I don't know. That's why people bought EOS or Monero because they want to buy drugs or whatever.
No, but half these sales pitches aren't that, right? So Iota's sales pitch is, yeah, look at all these partnerships we got. We're going to be the Internet of Things thing. They're not even trying to be a currency. They're not even trying to be human usable as per their sales pitch. It's all for machine to machine crap, right? So
yeah, people believe it. That's
everyone bought their vertical sales pitch for this new world-changing thing that they're trying to get into, right? Bitcoin's original sales pitch was, we're going to be a currency. Then they gave up on it because it didn't work. For 10 years, to try to be a currency didn't work. It is digital gold now. Great. Digital gold's better. A lot of people aren't happy with that, like the Bitcoin Cash guys. They still want to be a currency, right? Ethereum's thing is they want to be a world computer, right? Monero's thing is they care about fungibility. My thing is trustless interest. I invented the first blockchain trustless interest CD product on the whole blockchain ecosystem. I'm the only system where you can get paid more for locking your coins for longer. And it's not like masternodes where you can just unlock whenever you want. When you lock in this, if you try and unlock early, you will pay a penalty. If you serve half your time, you can get out with your principal. If you don't serve half your time, you're getting hit on your principal. So you better, if you're inflating your shares and taking all those bonus shares and reducing everyone else's payout because you said you were going to stake longer, boy, you better, right? And then if you don't stake as long as you said you would, you get penalized and a portion of that payment goes to the people that stayed staked. I invented all that. It ain't nowhere else on the blockchain, and it's better game theory than Bitcoin has. In Bitcoin, if you want to earn interest on your Bitcoin, you've got to give your coins to a counterparty, hope that they go and lend them out with interest to go short, right? Hope that they pay you back, hope that they don't get attacked. That's a lot of hope to make, 10, 20% a year, right? Why don't you just lock your coins in the same contract that created them and get paid trustlessly interest, fairly, and if everyone locks up their coins, everyone gets paid less. But guess what? If everyone locks up their coins, what do you think is going to happen to the market value of the coin, assuming static or increasing demand? So if more people lock up their coins, there's less circulating supply, the market price goes up, and everyone's actual payouts on each round go down because more people join the pool. Totally fair. Now what happens if less people lock their coins? Then the rate that you get paid for locking goes up. It's just like Bitcoin mining. It's self-balancing. When Bitcoin has too many miners, it becomes less profitable, miners shut off, and then it becomes profitable again. So that the amount of security that Bitcoin has always roughly tracks the amount of money in the ecosystem. It's better that way. This system does the same thing, except instead of enriching a bunch of companies in Asia to make chips, and they don't particularly seem like good actors. I haven't seen them do nice things in the ecosystem. I can't even debate with many of them. When's the last time you met a miner that runs a SHA-256 mining farm that wanted to talk to you? I haven't met too many, and I'm out there, right? So why don't we get rid of that garbage? We're not getting rid of it, right? So there is still proof of work mining going on. It is still being done on Ethereum. Ethereum miners need to mine blocks for my project to work, right? Their mining is better. They use video cards, and they're also adding an anti-ASIC proof of work called ProgPOW, which gets rid of these centralized terrible counterparties, which are the ASIC manufacturers, and makes it ASIC resistant and makes the ecosystem so that people can mine at home, which is how this all got started. And since this is a socially enforced network, the more miners that you have in a distributed system that don't have to send $5,000 off to China or Taiwan, the better it is for the ecosystem. So we've got better miners that are more diverse in an ecosystem which has never had an inflation attack. It's never had a inflation bug like Bitcoin has had in the past, and just narrowly avoided because a Bitcoin Cash developer found it. Now, Ethereum almost had a problem with their Constantinople fork, and it was caught by a bug bounty program that they have. Does Bitcoin have a bug bounty program? No. Bet you'd find more bugs if it did, right? So I chose the right ecosystem. I chose superior game theory. And if a cryptocurrency is just game theory plus trustlessness, then there's literally no reason that this project shouldn't over time become more valuable to game theories that are less good, mining ecosystems that are less good, lower transaction rates, higher costs. So right now, my project, if it were launched today, would have higher throughput, lower transaction fees, a more diverse ecosystem of miners, a history of never having an inflation attack, a bug bounty program to keep it more secure, the most number of developers in the ecosystem for Ethereum, which is the substrate we're running on. It's just better in so many ways. The units are better. You don't have to pay 0.048656 Bitcoin to somebody to buy something. You have a referral program that's fair. Okay, you referred somebody, you get 5% of their claim. Good. You referred a Bitcoin maximalist to come claim and get his free tokens for free, you get 5%. The currency inflates 5% for you to get that. Good, right? And it's trustless interest now. We don't have to mine and blow up the earth with electricity mining. I mean, the Ethereum miners still do to some degree, but more of bad isn't better, right? Like, I'm very proud of what I built. I would love for you guys to trash it. I'm ready. Just bring it on.
Actually, I just want to talk to my viewers. I'm not completely objective on this because half a year ago, I had a similar idea. Of course, I don't have the knowledge to really put it into reality, but I was like, it would be nice if there would be a smart contract that rewards locking up your coins, because most people don't have the time to trade every day because they study and they work. And
there's
if you're
overhead.
not...
Every trade you make, you have to be a little more right than 50-50 to pay the fees and the bid-ask spread. So you pay the slippage and the fees. So you start off losing when you press either buy or sell.
Yeah, so when I don't know if you explained Bitcoin Hex from the beginning when you first introduced it to your listeners, because I didn't remember thinking, wow, this is a brilliant idea. Did you take your time when you announced Bitcoin Hex, and after some time you announced that there will be like this pool with the 3.69%?
Original was different. So originally, I was trying to reverse engineer reasonable inflation rates with reasonable pool adoption by manually adjusting the amount that you would get paid extra for locking up longer. And it just occurred to me after months, like, oh my God, why don't we use a pool like Bitcoin? And then it auto balances. And then if there's too many people staking, which isn't even possible, but if in theory there could be too much staking, well, then it lowers their return on each one, and then maybe less people are happy to jump in, right? And then there's more coins available to trade. So the innovation of the pool probably happened 3-4 months in after trying to beat that math up, and just like it was the worst looking, hardest spreadsheet you've ever seen. Like, because it's very hard to deal with interest, because interest is it's calculus. So interest is measuring a rate of change in relationship to your previous rates of change. It's very, very hard. And the way I figured it out just is awesome. But it wasn't there originally. But yeah, the idea of locking up for a pool and getting interest was always, it's the primary value statement of the currency is no one's using this shit as a currency. Everyone's using it as store value. The best thing any of these things can do is appreciate. So if we want to make something that the price pumps higher and harder on, well, what do? You reduce the supply on the market, and you have very low inflation, and you reduce the number of coins that come out. Like, for instance, in a mining currency, the harder the difficulty is, the more people that mine it, the more coins get dumped on market, because they've got to pay electricity bills, and their electricity bills get higher and higher the more people are competing for the same coins. Look at this system. Okay, more and more people lock up their coins. Do we have electric bills to pay? No. The price just goes up more. So less people ever want to sell anyway. More people want to stake. They look at the chart and they're like, oh, look, the price just keeps going up. Wow, it's like a hockey stick. Great. Right? So in proof of work systems, more people trying to get the new coins, the inflation, which is only given to miners, hurts the price. In this system, the more people that want to get the new coins, the inflation, by staking, it helps the price. So it's a self-reinforcing hockey stick generating. Like, every single pump-a-mental that exists is in this, except for fake partnerships, which, we've got Bosch that's not paying us to work with us because our shit's not good enough to charge for, but it's going to be great, right? So we don't have any fake narratives about partnerships or working with McDonald's or any other bullshit that unfortunately people like. I have no idea why. We don't have that, and we don't have minimum buy-in for stakes, right? So in a masternode system, you have not only have you got to have you've got to buy like this number of coins in order to have a masternode. We don't have that because you can't do that trustlessly. Like you'd have to set, if you're trying to set a USD price, then you'd have to have an oracle that you trust to set price, which you can't do that. You'll have the failure at that point. So in this truly trustless thing where there's no like backdoors, there's no secret codes, they're all public functions, you can't have any oracles, right? That just one guy runs. Yeah, so the only two fundamentals that are possibly missing are fake partnerships and minimum lockup number of coins. Everything else is the best, right? You're going to get Satoshi's coins. You want Satoshi's coins? Okay, unless he claims, right? That's a good deal. You want all the coins from the other people that didn't claim? Okay, but now you're going to keep it a secret. You're not going to tell anyone. No, you're not, because then someone else is going to make the referral money. And we amplify the inflation to the early people with two other bonuses called virality and critical mass. The more people that claim and the larger their claims, we amplify inflation for the guys that were in early. They get rewarded more.
And those two boosters, are they already explained in depth? Sure, or are they just part of the effects of the pool?
No, those are custom coded in there. So basically what happens is you've got payout rounds, and each payout round, so the software goes and looks and it goes, all right, what's the supply of the currency now? Good, let's inflate it 3.69% over a year, which is, if you want to calculate how to do that math, you go to Wolfram Alpha and you type, so let's assume we're still doing the 10-day periods, 36 power of 1.0369. And then it's going to give you a number, take the one off of it, and that's the number that which every time you multiply that times the currency's value, after you do that 36 times, you end up with 3.69% inflation from the first number. So with that math, it's about 0.1% inflation every 10 days. And then your amount that you get extra interest by staking longer is 0.56% every 10 days. Now we're using 7 days now, so those numbers change a little bit, but the principle is still there, right? So if you stake longer, you'll notice that like the amount of new shares that you're getting to crowd out the other shares is more than the amount of inflation. So you're always going to do better locking for longer and getting a higher number of shares than you would trying to iterate outside the system your own compounding. You won't make as much.
What was the thinking behind switching from 10 days to 7 days? Was it just a more human interval since the week is 7 days, or was it a simulation?
Most of the benefits work on a 7-day period. So the Satoshi rewards work on a 7-day period, but it originally, with the first developer we were working with, we've gone through a few developers now. It's insane how hard this is to actually build. You'd think, oh, I'm just doing an ERC20. This can be real easy. Nope. Ain't nothing easy. Absolutely nothing. Like every single thing has been hard. You're working with products that don't have documentation. The documentation's wrong. The rules keep changing. So like it is hard. Originally, we thought we'd run it at gas limits. So I wanted a 50-year, the longest mortgage you can get is a 50-year mortgage. And I thought, all right, well, then let's copy that same. So we copied the CD lock, you get paid for longer, just like the normal world, right? This is probably the most popular banking product that's not a savings account or a checking account. Probably the CD is the next most popular, right? So we copied that logic, and then we copied the fine system, which is it's a 3-month minimum, right? So if you lock for 3 months and then you leave for 3 months, like you're getting a 3-month penalty, so you're not getting any profit. If you lock for a year to 2 years, you're getting a half a penalty profit, right? So you lose half of what you put in. Then that starts to taper off after. In our system, it doesn't. So if you lock for 50 years, and then if you emergency unlock immediately, you owe 25 years off the bat. You're probably going to zero your account. Now, that's going to be terrible for you, but the staker pool is going to like that you did that because you're going to be zeroing your account into them, and then your carcass is going to be eaten by those guys, right? Let's say you don't end your stake on time. So you've got your shares, you're making your mad gains on paper, they're in the contract, right? And you're supposed to end your stake, but you don't. You've got a 2-week time frame. If within 2 weeks you have not ended your stake, or called this other cool function called good accounting, which anyone can call, okay? So anyone can call this for you. Anyone can clean the system. Anyone
And does this good accounting call pay the fees for everybody or just for one individual person?
It has to be run per person. So I'm not exactly sure how much it would cost to run. You'd have to run your own node that knew how many stakes were expired, or used Etherscan or whatever to see how many stakes were expired, and then ran the good accounting function for all of them. So in theory, once every 2 weeks, some nice guy could come along and make sure that the state of the system is accurate by paying to run the good accounting function and take out all the expired shares, which will increase the payout to the people still in the pool because those shares aren't there diluting it, which also slows the inflation. So if a guy leaves his shares in there expired, diluting everyone else's payouts because they have less shares as a ratio because he's sitting in there, he's not going to be making that money though. It's going to be lowering the inflation rate of the system. But 1% of his entire stack in that stake is going to disappear every week if he doesn't do it. So it's going to be, I don't know how the game theory is going to work out, whether everyone hopes that people get their accounts nuked through forgetfulness, or whether some nice guy somewhere in the world just once every 2 weeks just runs everybody, and then no one ever gets screwed, right? Like no one ever gets the forgetfulness penalty. I don't know how that's going to work out. What I do know is that you can't automate anything in Ethereum. Someone has to ask work to be done and pay for it to be done anytime anything is ever supposed to happen. You can't set an alarm clock with Ethereum. You can't ask it to wake you up at 7 a.m. It doesn't work. It's not possible. It's not automatic. There has to be another computer somewhere else in the world asking it to do work and paying for that work to happen. And so this game theory with a carrot and a stick, right? I put both there. It's the best thing you can do to make it work. And it's interesting game theory. It keeps people engaged, right? It's good not just because it makes the system work. There's also game theory reasons why it's good as well. It's another profit center beyond the inflation. So let's say 100% of coins were locked up and people are just getting paid 3.69% plus, whatever the coin went up. I'm assuming that something that starts at 0 is very likely to go up and not down because you can't go farther than 0 down, right? So now you've got 2 extra profit centers, which are people that ended their stake early, emergency end stake, or people that ended their stake late after the 2-week leniency period. Those are 2 extra profit centers for the staking pool above and beyond the actual inflation.
Yeah, I think it's really exciting to see how it's going to play out. Do you predict that there is going to be another pool of investors? Before in past live streams, you talked about libertarians and kumbaya people, one for Bitcoin, one for Ethereum.
I think, well, sure. I mean, we already talked about the guys that went for the whole Iota, Internet of Things scam. Their Internet of Things sucks. Nobody wants your refrigerator to be able to talk to the internet. It's worse. Ask anyone that has an automated home. It's the worst thing that they've ever done. Everything sucks, always. It's always broken, always. And when it's not broken, it's just acting as a DDoS machine from being unpatched and forwarding spam and ruining with, reflected attacks other people's servers. So, yeah, you're always going to have new pitches. I think pay holders instead of miners is a great pitch. I think trustless interest is a great pitch. I think get Satoshi's coins is a great pitch. I think that this will be one part Bitcoin maximalists that were sitting on Bitcoin, which is why they get these free coins. And I think it's going to be one part people that are already in the ETH ecosystem that look at the chart and go, wow, that's a nice shape, right? Not that I have much control over it, right? It's currently traded on no markets, and I have no idea what's going to, if it gets on a market, which is extremely likely, I don't know what the price chart's going to look like, right? Price charts of new coins always get screwed up because people don't understand thin books, and someone just market buys $100, but there was only $100 available and it was scaled from here to 10x higher. And so the first minute of every market is 100% screwed because one guy market bought and made this huge wick that screws up everyone's chart scale for the next 6 months, depending on what time frame you use. And that's not actually avoidable, right? Because you would have to have the coins on the exchange at the minute that it was open. I'm not sure you can get out of weird, extremely early chart shapes. So every time BitMEX launches a new futures product, every 3 months, you see a fucked up wick up or down. There's just no way to get out of it.
And the Binance charts for altcoins in the first days or weeks looks all the same as well.
Yeah.
Talking about chart patterns, how do you explain the Bart pattern currently occurring with Bitcoin in the last months?
So my best explanation for that is, in a sideways market, you have longs and shorts stacking against each other, building pressure, right? And so for instance, if you put your $1 million bid on Mex, and then it goes to the market maker's bot, and then he arbitrages that energy across some other exchange and keeps it within a range, right? And then somebody just market buys 1,000 coins on Finex, and you see it in the margin window. You're like, oh, look, somebody just margin bought 1,000 coins. And then that shoves the price, and then the market makers bots see that and arbitrage it, and then it hits and cascades, everyone stops. So everyone that was stopped, $10, $30, $50 out of the money, a lot of times people will use either a flat dollar number stop or a percentage stop, depending what software they're using, right? So Mex, your stops are really dollar based, right? You can't send a percentage stop on the default screens in Mex. And then once you've punched through in a single order with the market maker bot, everyone stops. Now the trade engine has to execute all those stops. And you'll literally see on the tick chart the price go fucking everybody. Like there'll be, a $50 to $100 wick up and down, up and down, up and down. And you're jamming the limit buy button. You're like, limit buy right there on the wick. Fucking give me the bottom of the wick. Give me the bottom of the wick. Order error, system overload. You're like, man, if this shit didn't just give system overload all the time, you could buy the bottom of that wick pretty easy, right?
Is there somebody still earning at that moment when the wick is shooting up and down?
Well, sure. Because if someone's getting their orders in, right? So whoever did get their orders in could literally buy the bottom and sell the top of the wick a couple times in a few seconds, with the risk that it gets larger. And then you're like, oh shit, that short that I took up there, it looked good, but now it would have been nicer up higher, right? So it's not risk free, but you can definitely make money doing it. You can look at the trade engine, and if you get good execution or lucky, or no, if you've already got 2 trades open, then there's preferential treatment given to the close order trade, and you can kind of cheat the system by having 2 trades open and then using the preferential close treatment on one of them to beat other people's. I don't know why I'm telling you this shit. Like, why am I giving you free make money advice? I don't know. Yes, you can actually make money trading if you want. Use my BitMEX link if you want to play around. You get a 10% discount. Enjoy. I'll tell you a strategy. If you want to get a lot of Bitcoin Hex, and on the snapshot day, you overbought more Bitcoin than you were comfortable with, owned it for 10 minutes to an hour, however long it took to find the block. Could be a second, could be an hour. We don't know exactly. Like when one block is found, you don't know. It's the Poisson distribution as to when the next block will be found. So you'll own Bitcoin for a second to 10 minutes, right? And that's all you need to own it for. And if you're worried about that, minute, second to an hour exposure, depending on how long you think it's going to take to find that next block, then you can hedge your risk on BitMEX with leverage, and then you still end up with a lot more free coins than you would have with basically no fiat risk. Just whatever fees you had to pay to, take your coins, get delivery of them. I guess actually it would take longer than an hour, right? Because you do have to get delivery of your coins. So it may take you longer than an hour. You'd have to see exactly. You'd have to buy the coins, take delivery of them, now they're in your wallet. In theory, even if they weren't delivered to you yet, but they were in the blockchain, yeah, you'd have to make sure that your coins were in your possession or in a key, in an address that which you had the key to when the snapshot happened. So it's just an interesting way using leverage that you can amplify how many coins you get in a snapshot for an airdrop or a fork.
Starting this contract in 7 weeks or so, did you make thought about the unintended consequences if it really goes worldwide reserve currency? There might be economic impact that all businesses that have less than 3.69 annual return on investment are going out of business.
I'd be lucky to have that problem. I look forward to having that problem. I think a lot of very smart people over-optimize prematurely for things that will never ever happen. Like people think like, man, I don't want to lift weights too much because I don't look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. Don't worry, you won't. No matter how hard you try, no matter how hard you lift for your entire life, you're not going to ever look like Arnold Schwarzenegger. You don't have to worry about that. I'd rather figure out the right syntax for my referrer URLs, whether it's a question mark or an equal sign or a CNAME or a subdomain, or a CNAME or a directory. A CNAME and a subdomain are the same thing. I'd rather work on that than the potential implications of God. We took over the whole world. What do we do now? It's just we'll have the referral URL problem before we have that other problem.
Yeah, it's probably just a silly nerd question, but I found that
no, it's fun. Yeah, like what happens to businesses that can't make? I mean, by that token though, like we shouldn't have any businesses already because the market already gives 10% return on average, and Berkshire Hathaway already gives 20% return on average. So I don't think it's a problem.
Yeah.
I don't feel that you guys have fucked my coin up enough. So like things you should have brought up, like, hey Rich, didn't you say Ethereum sucked? Yes, I did, and my essays are still up there on the things that suck about it, and we don't use the parts that suck. Like,
the one thing is I actually promoted, or I made a nice video about Ethereum in May 2017 where I was like, it might take over even Bitcoin. Was the story.
It had a higher market cap at one point. It did actually have a higher market cap adjusted for the future value because it doesn't have a limit on how many will exist. Bitcoin does, Ethereum does not.
So the only things I have to talk about, I do not criticize it as being an ERC20 token. The only thing I want to caution everybody is like this contract can be hacked, might be hacked, and of course you said you might then just relaunch on a different platform or just fix it.
It's very unlikely for it to be hacked because we're using the already audited Open Zeppelin ERC20 standard format thing, and we're not doing our snapshot until we have also been audited. And both of those things, along with I and the other engineers, of which there are at least 2 working on the actual smart contract, others doing small front end things, we know every single vulnerability that is known in the smart contract ecosystem. We know about reentrancy bugs. We know about not assuming 0 as a value, that someone can shove money into your contract before you can't stop someone from sending money into a contract. We know about the naming of the constructor. We know about I can list you every single vulnerability that is known in Ethereum, and we don't do those things. And we know about security testing, so we know how to fuzz a contract and sanitize user inputs and avoid race conditions. Like, we really know what we're doing. It's 75% likely that when we go to audit, they won't find anything. That's me being generous to the auditor. I mean, we're really doing good work to make sure that this doesn't need to be fixed or relaunched in the future, that it is just perfect off the bat. And it's all auditable as well. So for instance, there was this project called Bitcoin Private that just had hidden blocks that no one knew about. And somebody stole a few $1 million that nobody knew about because it was run by assholes, right? So in our system, there's a snapshot. We publish it, you know what it is, it's the block height. Now we've got balances. We remove Mt. Gox and some other assholes if I can find them. If I can find Garzik, Jihan, Roger, Calvin, CSW, if I can find their coins, they get pulled out. Probably can't find them, unfortunately. I can find Gox because they're court records, right? I might be able to find some government seized coins, I'll pull those out. Probably won't be able to find these other guys, unfortunately.
What about the wallets of big exchanges?
They're not going to be able to claim for the most part because they use multisig, and multisig uses pay-to-script hash, and pay-to-script hash can't be evaluated in Ethereum. And so the only coins that can claim in our system start with a 1 or BC1. 1 is a normal pay-to-public key or pay-to-public key hash, which nobody uses pay-to-public key. It's all publicly hashed for many years now. But there's still about 1 million Bitcoins sitting in pay-to-public key addresses we're going to allow them to claim. They're probably old miners. I'm not really sure. So if you have an address starting with 1, which is normal, our trustless smart contract will be able to value the truth of your statement that you own those coins. This signature matches this address. We can evaluate that trustlessly. We can't do that with pay to script hash, which is multisig, or I think time lock, or old school like compatibility mode SegWit. Now new SegWit, which uses Bec32, we can use just fine. And I think we're the first claim airdrop thing ever that can use Bec32 addresses. So I guess that's neat.
And I was thinking, like you were talking about that wallets maybe in the future will offer the functionality to stake. And I was thinking, often exchanges probably have more funds available to finance development, and maybe it would be a nice feature of some exchanges to offer already that their bitcoins get their owners of bitcoins.
Sure.
On their exchange.
Well, they would make 5%. They would make 5% on the refer, right?
Mm-hmm.
So, and if an exchange wants to get the 5% refer and allow its users to get those coins, that's entirely up to them. You know, I can't stop it. I would even encourage it. Sure. The more people that participate in a superior game theory with higher throughput and a better mining ecosystem and lower transaction costs and a bug bounty system, yeah, that's better. Like, let's do that, right? They're not going to be able to do that if their addresses start with 3. Like every BitMess address starts with a 3. You can go on the Bitcoin, if you just Google Bitcoin rich list, you can see the distribution of all of Bitcoin's addresses on how much money is in them, right? You'll find out there's only 5,000 accounts with more than 5 million accounts with more than $1,000 in them. And wrong. 5 million accounts with more than $100 in them. 2 million accounts with more than $1,000 in them in the Bitcoin ecosystem. This math was good maybe 4 months ago. It's probably the same now. And then you can see those top addresses and see whether they start with 3 or BC1 or 1. And the ones that start with 1 or BC1, they can claim. If they start with anything else, they can't. So there's going to be, and by the way, even if those exchanges could claim, and even if they did have addresses that started with 1 or BC1, they would still very likely be hit with a whale penalty. So if you have over 1,000 coins, you're getting your stack cut in half. If you have over 10,000 coins, you're getting your stack cut by 75%, right? This system is designed so that the people that receive reward are bringing the value, right? Having Mt. Gox dump Bcash on Bcash users did not help the Bcash project at all. There was absolutely no value to the Bitcoin Cash fork to allow the Mt. Gox trustee to dump on their heads, and that's exactly what he did. Hundreds of thousands of coins, or like I think maybe 50,000 coins or something like that. Some large number of thousands of coins was dumped by a guy that just got them for free because their ecosystem wasn't smart enough to do what I'm doing and get rid of the freeloaders, right? You finally, your Bitcoin whale, you look at the chart, you're like, what's this Bitcoin Hex thing? God, that chart looks good. I want some of that. Oh, I can claim some? Week 51? Aw, shit, too late. You can't claim now, boy. We did all the work. We made this thing awesome. You weren't there. Fuck you. You don't get free money. If you wanted to get your free money, you should have been here helping out, right? Like when I asked, hey guys, what should the inflation rate be? Crickets. Hey guys, like anything I've asked the community, crickets, right? So if you want to get free money, come on in and help out.
Yeah, why did you think you have a involved community? Why didn't you get more feedback from the crowdsourcing of ideas?
It's a bear market, man. People are fucking dropping off like flies. People are wrecked. They're not happy to open up their Blockfolio and see all this red blood and horror, right? Nobody's getting new subscribers. It's pretty slow. With me, I'm churning, right? So I'm getting a lot of new subscribers that like Bitcoin Hex, and I'm losing a lot of player haters. I'm not gonna get rich on it, or whatever their fucking sad feels are, right? So like I'm churning and like gaining slowly. A lot of other people are just straight losing. They'll lose 100 subscribers a day. A popular crypto YouTuber, you can look up people's stats. You go on socialblade.com. You can look up their Twitter stats. You can look up their YouTube stats, and you'll just see blood out there, right? Because okay, let's do it. What's the yearly low? 52 weeks back. What's the yearly low on Bitcoin? like 31.50 something on max. Okay, and what's the price now? 35. Okay, so we're like 10% over the absolute bottom that we've ever seen for like a couple years now. That's not fucking good. Like, I mean, that's not good, right? You want more than a 10% pump off the absolute multi-year bottom. That sucks. So I think people will be a lot more, this will be a much more exciting ecosystem. We have great memes. We have a lot of smart people in the 5,000 plus member chat that we've got. The 50,000 followers I've got on Twitter. This will be a lot more exciting once people start to see gains on this particular product. Like once it's on an exchange and people see green, those ref links, you're going to see them everywhere, right? It's just going to be a whole lot more fun. Right now, like the website, it doesn't do justice to what the product is. The website is a piece of shit compared to how good the product is. If you go to the actual chat on Strape or Strape Charts or Bitcoin Hex, Bitcoin Hex News, Bitcoin Hex Memes on Telegram, any of those channels, you're going to see what the actual pitch is. You're going to see the actual chart of like, this is the interest from 400% down to 4% by percentage of stakers. This is the value in market cap, assuming a 50% lock, which I'm just mirroring what happens in masternodes. It's the best guess I have. This is the first product of its kind in the world. Maybe we have 85% because the rewards are so huge to people that stake. You want Satoshi's coins, you got to stake. You want to get all the coins of other people that forgot, you got to stake. You want a critical mass bonus, virality bonus, you got to stake. You want interest, you got to stake. You stake longer, you get paid more. Maybe we get 85% lockup from those game theory metrics. But if without those, maybe it's less than the 50% that seems common in a masternode system because you can unlock in a masternode system. You can unlock in this one. So maybe it trends towards 40% without all those super bonuses. These are just guesses. I don't know, right? I'm very excited to find out. I'm very excited to find out. And what, like, let's say we're just better than the shitty garbage that's Bitcoin Cash, right? Let's say we're just better than that. Okay, so what is that, 3% of Bitcoin's value? What's that, like a couple $100 million or something? It's not that bad, right? We'll work our way up from there. So like I've done so many things right in this project. I'm very, very proud of a lot of the decisions I made. Even the referral links are better. Like you don't have to sign up to send a refer. Which is going to be # your Ethereum address. You want to make 5% on your viewers claiming? BitcoinHex.com / your Ethereum address. I don't need you to sign up. I don't need to know where you live. When they go to it, it'll never appear in their browser bar again. It's just hidden inside a cookie on their machine. Then when they go to claim, bloop, they pay you the 5% when they pay the fee to claim. Unless it's set up so that anyone can pay for people to claim. So a nice, honest person or a nice charitable person could go and pay for other people's claims if they wanted to, so that people that may just have Bitcoin but not Ethereum could probably still get their claims paid for and join the ecosystem without having to go to some exchange and KYC AML and trade their Bitcoin for Ethereum. I'm not actually trying to pump Ethereum's bags, right? Like, I'm happy to see every other dApp on Ethereum crash and burn and make the fees really cheap. As long as people keep mining it, cool, great, right?
I interviewed you today because I want to present to my viewers the most interesting projects right at the moment. And you are already always entertaining and educating, but this project is, I think, something even on a higher level and than just good information or education. Of course, there's huge potential. And if one looks at the potential of the other smart contracts on Ethereum that already worked, and this is, like I said, something that when like 7 months ago I had this idea, I didn't know how to implement it or how to promote it or how to get programmers, but
it was a good idea.
Yeah,
you'll find that happens a lot. A lot of people have good ideas at the same time, and then they're amazed when they go to the patent office and they're like, oh shit, this was done in like 1960, 1975, 1985. Like, smart people do have good ideas. And I mean, seriously, if you're given programmable money, what should your first program be? Interest. So like, it's not exactly a stretch, you know?
But of course you use a lot of experience probably from trading and from financial products. I think you made your first wealth with internet marketing, but how long have you been learning to trade? Or did you just start when cryptocurrencies come up to really get into trading?
A couple of years, just a couple of years. I only got into it a couple of years ago. I'm just a quick study, so I have learned a lot of things, and I will keep learning a lot of things. I just save on transition time, So if I can shit, shower, and shave in one nice short burst and spend the rest of my time doing productive learning things, I try to be productive, but being productive all the time is hard. So when I'm not productive, I just learn a lot. So it's like a bad habit, but it's the best of the bad habits. You should be doing with as much. I shouldn't be reading. I should be finishing my book. I shouldn't be reading. I should be sorting the FAQ by question type, right? But if I'm not doing those things, well, then I'm reading about how you can derive pi from the number of times a heavy thing bounces into another thing on YouTube. Like, it's like, I don't know. Learning's not the worst habit, right? It's not that bad.
Yeah, I agree. So it's more like a news thing, trading. It's not that you lived like a past life as a Wall Street trader that we don't know about.
Well, when I was very, very young, I read a book called Market Wizards, and I bought the Ken Roberts commodity trading course, and so there was some very retarded double top, double bottom, candlestick patterns there. Obviously, those don't work on their own. And then I didn't do anything with it until, much later in life. But I guess it was always kind of there in the back of my head. I can tell you this. Yeah. It's going to be a lot easier for you to buy and hold something that you got for nothing and watch it pump than it is to be a successful trader. You are very likely to be annihilated and lose everything that you put in to trade. This is very likely. If you're going to do it, use my BitMEX link, go ahead. But I can warn you, you're very likely to get fucked up, and the skill cap is higher than you think.
I recommend to everybody do paper trading for 1 month at least.
It doesn't even work. You don't feel the same horror. You don't feel the same sweating and shaking. So if you can sleep, which paper trading always allows, you don't understand real trading. like, don't trade if you don't have to, man. Believe. The people that have been at this for longer and have better tools and better inside knowledge are going to take your money. So, I have a calls channel. I do make price predictions less now that it's just shitty Barts. Good luck getting a big trend, right? Like Ethereum bounced 100% from 80 to 160 or 88 to 172 or whatever. Cool. That was nice. And now it's 107 today. We wicked down to 107 on Phoenix today. So, and actually I haven't looked at the chart since we've been on the call, because truthfully, here's the problem with looking at charts. Everything that you learned about that chart now is useless on tomorrow's chart. Go and build something, and that works while you're sleeping. Your ability to recognize patterns in the ecosystem stops making you money when you go to sleep. That's stupid. It's terrible. And what are you really doing? You're just taking money from other people. You're taking other people's money. That's all you're doing. That's not a wholesome, honest, awesome way to live life. Like, I do have a calls channel. I do have a trading channel. But I will tell you, if you can do anything better with your life, you should do that.
And I have the suspicion that some smart people are running like deep learning algorithms.
Yeah, there are. I know
every second, recognizing the patterns, already incorporating if I run a own bot with some technical analysis that does 1 trade a minute or something, they are already far ahead. And after like 2 weeks, I will recognize that I didn't go in, that I was maybe 5% in the plus, but after 2 weeks, I will be like 2% minus or something.
Yep. What used to work oftentimes stops working. So, think about it. The other problem is, like, in a bear market, you're more likely to get downward price movement than upward price movement. And you can't make shit on downwards price movement, because if you shorted 20,000 and it went to 0, you made 20,000 on your 20,000. You made 100%, and it ain't going to 0. But if you longed 0 and it went up to 20,000, you made like zillions and zillions of X. So you make a shitload more money longing, which is why everyone's a genius in a bull market, and it's a lot harder to make money in a bear market. You will get chopped up. You will get fucking chopped up, right? So, like, this is the worst environment. Unless you're a market maker and you guess the range right, then the Barts are great. Like, that's the volatility that you make as the market maker. But as soon as it jumps out of the range you guessed, you've got to rebuy back your inventory and you're at a loss, right? So a trending market is the enemy of a market maker. A ranging market is where a market maker makes his best profit.
I listened to your last live streams and you mentioned that you would like to talk to Jeffrey Tucker. What would you ask him?
I just love smart people. I'm capable of talking about anything and having an enjoyable conversation. I don't care if it's nuclear physics, makeup, bodybuilding, social issues, political issues, pets. I don't care. I enjoy talking about it. And the smarter the person is I'm talking to, the more enjoying the conversation is going to be for the viewers, right? Like it's just better content and more fun for me to talk to people that are challenging. Like, because I like to battle. I don't think I've ever lost an argument on the internet. So
I have an interesting quote from Jeffrey Tucker from January 2019, and I would like to hear your reaction.
Sure.
He says in this interview, the absurdities of Bitcoin's performance could have been completely avoided with just a bit of concern for the user. I would love it if we could perform a controlled experiment and see the BTC price today if the thing had properly scaled. We can't do that. We have the reality we have. Privately, of course, Bitcoin core developers will admit that this was a disaster and that scaling will eventually take place on the chain. But at this point, pride and arrogance had gotten the best of them. How long will they continue to promise the Lightning Network while showing no concern for the use case? It's time for a bit of humility. To be sure, the Lightning Network is super great. We run a node at the Atlanta Bitcoin Embassy. I look forward to its final stability and adoption. And it goes on.
Yeah, everything you just said was retarded and wrong. The Bitcoin core devs don't work on Lightning. Like I think Rusty Russell maybe does something with it, but the majority of what they do is making sure that the code in Bitcoin D and Bitcoin Core works. Then there's other people that make Lightning work that have nothing to do with them, right? So what you have to understand is an open source project, the loudest critic is the guy that's supposed to fix that shit, right? You don't like how it works? Fuck you, fix it. It's open source. Fuck you, fix it. These are volunteers, right? Like, Chain Code Labs doesn't get paid to write blockchain code. They're the majority of the commits. Fuck you, fix it yourself, right? So it's an open source project. Second, the problem with user experience has nothing to do at all with throughput. The blocks are half empty right now. The user experience still sucks balls. I don't even think that we have Bec32 SegWit in the Bitcoin Core wallet, and I don't even think anyone uses the Bitcoin Core wallet, so maybe it's not that big a deal. Like, the onboarding and user experience is terrible for a whole myriad of reasons that have nothing to do with scalability. That concept that like, oh, Lightning is Bitcoin core, like Bitcoin Core's thing, it's fucking not. Like, they don't run the repository, they don't push updates, it's not their software, they're not working on it. Like, what the fuck is this guy talking about? He's full of shit, right? Like, that's not what they're building, it's not what they're working on. So
I think with Jeffrey Tucker, he spent maybe like 2 months or 3 months researching Bitcoin in 2013, and since then he didn't get an update.
Yeah. I don't think Lightning existed then. It did not exist then, but
I found Lightning notes. Maybe that the statistics on the website, on the Lightning statistics were wrong, but I found one that was 6 years old, so they should have started in 2013 based on.
Okay, I didn't know it was that old.
But I haven't read it anywhere, so that's just my speculation.
Lightning was actually apparently co-discovered by two different people in two different white papers kind of at the same time. They had like the same idea, right? Because all it is like pre-signed transactions with time locks. And then as long as you prove that you paid, then that guy can get his money. That's all Lightning is, right? They're like, yeah, I made a transaction and I pre-signed it, but I won't allow you to unwrap that signature and like actually like execute the payment until you prove that you did what you're supposed to do, right? That's all it is. So yeah, I don't know why anyone would think that scalability is a problem. It's not. Scalability is not the problem.
And so I would prefer if Jeffrey Tucker would just research it right now, because now we are in a bear market, and the only people that care about Bitcoin, no matter what the price is, are libertarians, in my maybe opinion. And
Bag
maybe
holders.
people
Bag
that
holders care.
like long-term investors, like venture capitalists, maybe they care about it in the bear market. But right now, Jeffrey Tucker would have a good opportunity to educate more people, to even maybe influence decisions that the Bitcoin developers make might fatally die of their Alzheimer's. So they are like 1 year out or half a year out, and they will get this telomere lengthening, and it should also work on them. So we will see
I'm
in
really
2000.
partial to reprogramming white blood cells to do cool shit. That's my favorite thing.
That's Aubrey de Grey's one of Aubrey de Grey's projects, right? Or...
Maybe. I don't know about that one. It's not in the original Sen's roadmap. So the junk, I mean, I could tell you the reasons why we age, and having white blood cells clear some of that stuff is, yeah, I guess it is actually. So it would be lycosens. Yeah, I think it's lycosens. So they were trying to get your white blood cell to have an enzyme to break down 7-ketocholesterol, which is what causes foams and plaques in your arteries to then harden. So your white blood cell is like, hey, something here's fucked up, and it goes try to kill it, and then it gets corrupted and gets turned into foam itself because it doesn't have what it needs to break this stuff down. So actually, man, there's so much weird stuff in your body, like mad cow disease with prions. A prion is just like a normal protein that's folded the wrong direction. They have chirality, and then it fucks up everything else it gets near. And you're like, wow. So it kills you by replicating itself, by not really replicating itself, just by being so weird that it weirds out everything else near it. You're like, wow, that's so crazy.
Talking about weird stuff, would you want to be frozen for later revival?
Freezing sucks so bad right now that I'm not excited about it. But if they fix the crystallization stuff, and, you know, if I saw a mouse go from frozen to not frozen anymore and be cool with it, I'd be more likely to jump in there. So for me, it's weird. Like, I don't mind dying. I just mind not doing the best I could. So, like, death is like, all right, cool. I tried, like, whatever. Then there's no more worries. Like, there is no more worry. You're just out of the game, right? However it was before you, now it is the same after you, right? Or hopefully better if you left some stuff behind. So, like, if I die, it's not the biggest deal to me. If I endure a load of suck earlier than necessary before dying, okay, that sucks, right? Like, if it has to be a painful, shitty way out, okay, let's work to avoid that, right? So I don't care that much about being frozen. I care more about, like, not getting fucked up on the way out. People don't realize how important it is to fix Alzheimer's. It turns out that the rate at which you will get Alzheimer's is faster than the rate at which you will die. So you are more likely to get Alzheimer's than you are to die once you've reached like 65 or 70. So if you're not dead, you have lost your mind. We actually need to fix that shit. I think a lot of people don't care about Alzheimer's because they don't realize it's coming for you. It's coming.
Yeah, I agree that. So, yeah, it's maybe it's just the rational way to focus on longevity as one of the fields where you can have an impact with your life. And
after Hex, Sci-Vive, the book I wrote to try and get people to invest in saving their own lives. So I was like, all right, how do you get people to care? By showing them that if you have all the sex, drugs, money, rock and roll, and that stuff, that the only thing left is just more of that stuff. So if I can get you, like I retired in 2003, if I can get you to that point, maybe you can do better than I did and really work on the meat space and curing your fellow man and yourself. That's better than I did, right? I wasted 10 years playing video games like a fucking idiot.
Which video games?
Team Fortress 2, StarCraft 2, DayZ mod, back when it was awesome. Lingor Island, oh, so good. Chess, like I've wasted a lot of time. My wasting time on Twitter at 50,000 followers is a better waste of time than those things.
Don't you think that chess might have structured your brain in a way where you're now able to think better?
Only one analogy I've ever found useful is that when you're arguing with someone in chess, if you put someone in check, you don't win. If you want to get checkmate, you got to think about where they would escape to if you put them in check. Okay, can't go there, can't go there, can't go there. Now when I check you, you lose instead of just running away. Arguing with people is the same way. I got to lock you into something that when I fuck you up, you can't wiggle out, right? So I'm just going to keep throwing statements out there until I find one that you can commit to, and then I'll fuck that one up. But if I preemptively just fuck up everything you say without you committing hard to it, you'll just keep shifting the goalposts and say that we were really talking about something else, right? Oh, well, we were really talking about that. All right. So I like to actually get credit when I fuck somebody up, and so I shut down all the exits before I kill them. That's the only analogy I've ever found that had good crossover between chess and, I mean, some people would say that like knowing when to sacrifice pawns to get like tempo advantage or positional advantage is better than just points advantage. Like, okay, maybe that's okay for an analogy, but that's like it, right? Well, I could make some other ones too, like knowing the value of bishops on certain colors and certain game setups is like, you know, you could see certain things have strengths and that they only operate this one way, right? So like if you have an audience, you should do something that scales with your audience. I could extrapolate I could force a lot of analogies in there, but they don't come naturally. The two I listed were the only natural ones. So, and I am also not good at chess, by the way. I'm like a 1750. It's shit.
One other thing you recently said was what you can do in life, and I think in SciBife you wrote it's quantity times quality means optimizing your life.
Yeah, that's it. That's the whole meaning of life right there. Quality times quantity. You can't get 10x quality because we're bad measurers. I could give you a 10x cheeseburger, you wouldn't taste the difference, but you can get 10x more lifespan, health span, if we get the math right, if we work harder, if we put more people and more money on it, instead of going to Mars. Oh, we're going to go to Mars and terraform it. Well, then you can just terraform here. Mars is more fucked up. If you can go fix a place that's more fucked up, you can fix a place that's less fucked up. This is less fucked up here, right? Just like people, like my grandparents are dead. They're dead. Oh, well, you know, we could do this, that, and the other. Well, is it going to prevent me from having the same fate? No. Okay, well, I'm dead in like 50 years. Like, what am I, right? Dead in 50. Okay. Let's work on that, right?
If you take Mars. Like the whole economic output of the humanity, you can see that going to Mars is just small expenditure.
Yeah, so curing death should be the same small expenditure, right?
I agree.
Now, so here, I believe that in the philanthropy realm, certain people fall for certain sales pitches. There are some people that will only give money to poetry. Okay. Well, let's get the poetry money.
I wouldn't say they fall. It aligns with their values.
Yeah, it was a negative presupposition there. It is beautiful when people are selflessly giving and improving the lives of others with money they couldn't have done anything with anyway, right? So if you got more money than you could possibly use anyway, you should be deploying it towards goals that are good for mankind, or else it will be deployed towards shit that's not good for mankind, like blowing up a bubble in housing, or blowing up a bubble in education, or blowing up a bubble in weapon stocks, or e-cigarettes, right? Let's make drugs more enjoyable so that more people are addicted so that they can get unintended health problems. That's not good. That's worse. So, like, I don't know.
I'm just talking now to the people in the chat. They say, can he do a talk with Craig Wright? And yes, he would do a talk.
I've reached out. Other people have reached out. He's not going to do it. He knows I'll fuck him up.
And now back to the topic. In your book, SciWife, there's also a link to the predictions of Ray Kurzweil. Mm-hmm. And I'm researching this since like 2006, the singularity he predicts. And in 2016, it was kind of a bummer to me that I got myself a lot of doubts anymore. Mm-hmm. And although they didn't tell us about it before, they were like, yeah, it's all clean sailing until 2021 or something. Mm-hmm. And they kind of, they kind of betrayed my belief in the singularity kind of. And I'm not sure anymore if we are on track or if it's all a long delay until maybe quantum computers.
Quantum computers aren't even that good. They're only useful for a certain set of problems. Anything that involves serial processing, a quantum computer is worse at, not better. The only thing quantum computers do better is parallel processing. And if parallel processing was all we needed, we would be really, really smart because we're good at that. But it turns out we're not good at a lot of shit, right? So the computers are better at us than a lot, right? Chess, Go, recognizing images, any math, like, so quantum computing is not the solution people wish it were. Even machine learning, once you realize that like computer vision is awesome and then we haven't actually got much more out of it, like that's like what we got computer vision, and everything that you're supposed to get that isn't that, we haven't really got. There could be another AI winter now. Maybe doing really good at chess and Go is where that ends for a while. It's possible. Self-driving cars haven't gone anywhere. Nowhere. Where's your self-driving car? Nowhere. You can maybe do it on the highway with lane changing now.
I mean, you can still expect within the next 10 years by hardware architecture, you can get a 100x, and by software optimization, you can get a 100x.
I don't know about that second one, but usually software gets slower, not faster, truthfully.
Because they didn't have any incentive because the hardware was going so fast.
Yeah, but you just said we're going to get 100x on hardware. I guarantee you software continues to get slower, not faster. They just keep adding features. And you, like, basically, so what does software do? Software runs an algorithm for the most part, right? And then do algorithms get faster? Rarely. So you're not really going to get faster software. Like let's say you want to do a database. Yeah. Here are your options. You can use Postgres or Oracle, or, you know.
At least when you read Ray Kurzweil, he talks about that in the last decades, the software improvements were actually more contributing to faster computers than the hardware.
I don't know about that. I don't think he knows what the fuck he's talking about there. See, Ray is an old guy, and he invented the Kurzweil keyboard, and he's a smart dude, but he looks a year older every year, and that's not what I'm looking for a guy that works for Google's Calico anti-aging fucking, like, I don't want that guy to look a year older every year. I don't think what he's doing is working. So, and people get out of touch. I mean, he's still a smart guy. But like you said, we don't have TikTok. We have TikTok, right? And we don't have faster single core performance. We just get more cores, which is actually what Moore's law is. It's you get more transistors for the same money. It's not that they're any fucking faster. So Moore's law actually does not concern itself with speed of processing whatsoever, which, hey, good thing, because we ain't getting faster speeds. Not much, right? Like, you had a Sandy Bridge overclocked at 4.7 gigahertz on air in 8 years ago. I think it was like 2010. And now you have like, an A700K or 9600K at 5 gigahertz or 5.2 gigahertz. You got 10% more clock speed in like 10 years. So, with an increase in maybe 20% IPC.
Yeah. So the question is economic growth, or has economic growth been linked to the improvements in computer technology and transistors? And if yes, how much? And maybe
here's another problem. How much better has your word processing got since computers got faster? How much better has it gotten for you to make beautiful images since the processing got faster? Nothing, right? How much easier it has been for you to make good music since processing got faster? Totally fucking unrelated. No relation at all. The only people that are actually benefiting from these processing improvements are people doing 3D modeling, which requires high render times, right? So ray tracing, things like that, there's been improvements. People doing machine learning, they get tensor cores in their GPUs now. They got improvements, right? Google has its own tensor board. Cool. For the rest of us, we haven't gotten jack shit. It's gotten worse. Like, the only improvement that we've really seen in the last 5 or 10 years has been SSDs, which increased small read-write latency and speed by a factor of 10. That was awesome, and they never break. Like, the fact that you can get an SSD and not worry about raiding it is like, wow, I don't have to pay double for my storage and an extra $50 a port for RAID. Awesome. Like, that's great. Everything else ain't better. It's not.
Okay, so then this would, and I got my first SSD in 2010, I think. So since then we haven't seen anything. So economic growth currently is not really related with it.
Well, we did get a lot when M2 SSD came out that plugged right into PCIe. So all your SATA 1 SSDs that were like 16 gig, 32 gig, They were on just like SATA 1, 300 megabyte a second. Then we got SATA 2, which did 600 megabyte a second. And then we got PCIe, which, you know, a brand new 970 Pro does 3.2 gigabytes a second read and 2.8 gigabytes a second write. That's a lot. Like, that is a factor of 6 over SATA 2. I think it's SATA 3 too, but I think it's also only 600 megabytes a second. Those were huge improvements, but other than that, no, not much.
And now I'm jumping a little bit to the topic of caffeine, coffee.
Sure. Yep.
You wrote, somebody asked, what's wrong with caffeine? It's considered safe under 400 milligram daily and can help with weight loss. And then you said on January 11th, it has emotional stress effects. If you're if you're the kind of person that always feels he's not doing as well as he can or what he should, the existential dread sucks. I think 80% of people now know they're not living up to their possibilities. It feels bad while making you less effective. And then you wrote, basically, if your dread doesn't enhance performance, you might as well profit from your sloth, then feel bad about it. So if bad is there, no reason to add meta bad.
Right.
I hope everybody understood because I didn't read it properly. But
so what that means is that if you wake up feeling bad, that sucks on its own. But then if you have a rule that says that you're never supposed to feel bad, well, now you have an extra stack of bad, meta bad, which is, I woke up feeling bad and that sucked, and I'm not supposed to ever feel bad, so I'm not even doing as well as I should be. So now that's extra suck, the meta suck, right? So you can get rid of the meta suck. Yeah, you still woke up feeling like shit, but that's fine. Sometimes you wake up feeling like shit. So it relieves the meta suck a bit, right?
And this rule, is coffee introducing this rule automatically, or are you introducing that rule?
Human beings are capable of having good relationships with drugs. Some drugs are easier to have good relationships with than others. I'm sure there's lots of people out there that have good relationship with caffeine. They use it in moderation. I like to do things as much as they can be done. So you get an espresso machine and you start firing those caps in there, and you end up having 20 caps a day, and then you're not having a good relationship with the drug. Now you need it to stay even. You're not even getting anything good out of it, right? It's just, this is the new even now, right? It's not healthy. If you can enjoy and use smaller doses of caffeine, it probably will cut your calorie intake. It probably will extend your life for that reason. It probably will make you lift a little bit more weight. It probably will keep you a little bit more focused. You are more likely to have problems with your sleep schedule. You know, it is not without side effects. Me, personally, I tried no coffee, and I tried shit tons of coffee, and no coffee is way, way, way better. Way better.
How long did it take for you to get off caffeine
just drop it cold? You just stop. You just don't do it anymore.
And didn't you have like after effects?
Nope.
Okay.
I didn't have a problem with it. Apparently it's terrible for most people. It didn't bother me at all.
Yeah, it takes like 2 or 3 weeks for me for all effects gone.
Yeah.
On the first day I don't feel it. On the second day I have like a slight cold. On the third day a slight cold, and then just headaches.
Yeah, I got lucky with that. It was really easy for me to drop it. And for me, it's better because what'll happen is I'm able to create amazing things when I do them. I have to feel that I'm running out of time to do them. If I get this shift wrong, and it feels like I'm definitely going to do that because it's so important. So what's actually important is the thing that I might not do. Like I might not fuck around on Twitter today. So I better make sure to fuck around on Twitter today. That's what's going on in the subconscious, right? It's always trying to optimize for scarcity. And so when it sees the thing that I really should be doing as common because it's so important, and the shit that I shouldn't be doing is rare because, you know, I shouldn't be doing those things. When that gets flipped, I fuck around a lot more and do a lot less of what I'm supposed to do. And so when I don't have a lot of coffee and I don't have that stress of like, gotta work now. Like I have that running all the time. With coffee, it's even more, right? It's so much easier to satiate that OCD drive, whatever you want to call it, with doing the wrong thing. And so the more you feel that drive to like optimize for scarcity, like work harder and focus on whatever you're doing, it seems like it's easier to fill up that need with F5ing Twitter or checking the 6 chat channels I run or whatever, right? Well, let's organize some files. Okay, none of those scales. Like, stop doing that shit. Build this thing that will last a decade. That scales, right? Build this thing that will impact millions of people.
So BitcoinHex is only going to last a decade?
Well, I don't know. Like, maybe some new amazing thing comes out and we have to fork all those, airdrop all those holders onto another amazing thing, right? I don't know, right? Like Bitcoin's forked numerous times. That's how we got SegWit. We didn't have SegWit, now we have SegWit. How did that happen? Well, there was a chain that didn't have it, and that chain stopped. Now we have this new chain that does have it. So, like, the game theory is so good that it may not need to change, right? It's very likely that it will not. But if it has to, fine. Like, okay, you know? So my point is, for me, if I can stay out of that, gotta work, so let's work on the wrong thing, and I can just be like, all right, I don't have to fucking work. What should I work on? The right thing. It's just easier for me to do the right thing. You can tell when I'm kicking ass and getting a lot done because the tweeting stops. When the tweeting stops is when Richard's living his best self. When you see a lot of tweets, I'm losing the game. Not many people know that.
Yeah, in the 4 or 5 hours before this interview, the tweeting stopped, and I was worried. Like, what is he doing?
It's getting shit done, man. I was working at that affiliate program. Turns out running, you can't do affiliate subdirectory referral system on AWS because it wants to see a file for everything in the subdirectory. So you can't just mod rewrite it in Apache like a normal server. So we have to prefix our referrals with question marks, which is okay. So now if you want to send people traffic to BitcoinHex and get a referrer Ethereum address set in their cookies, you just go to any URL on BitcoinHex / question mark your Ethereum address, and then you'll get the 5% bonus. Now that code isn't live yet, but it might be in a couple days. And then I think you'll see a lot of links, and that will make Richard happy. A lot of links.
And
people like referrers. They like free money.
Yeah, I live in Germany, so I always feel a little bit queasy if it's legal and stuff. So, but
it is. It's not a security.
Mm-hmm.
It's not a security. A security is when you pay money to a central party with the expectation of return from the work of others. Here, you're paying no money. You are promised no work in return. We couldn't work on it if we wanted to. The smart contract can't be changed once it's set. What else? There's no common pool. It's not a security. Like, it fails every leg of the high test that I can see, which means it's legal.
And one thing I wanted to talk to you originally about, I wanted to have a debate between you and Craig Wright about the future of Bitcoin. You talked about Craig Wright before, and do you think he was maybe part of the team that called itself Satoshi Nakamoto?
No. Absolutely not. He doesn't even write software. Does not code. Satoshi wrote C++ out his ass, like, all the time. Like, what do you want? Like, the guy doesn't write software.
If it was a team, he could have just done the theoretically part. And
there is no theory separate from the code. The code was written before the theory was fucking published. He didn't publish the white paper until the code was written. Period. There was no theory and then code. There was just code and then theory.
But it could be like a draft paper, and then somebody put it into...
He is a fucking scam artist. He went on stage and presented a fake proof. Like, please. That's like, I've done everything I can to avoid naming him personally, because when you give bad actors press, they get stronger because people are so stupid that some portion of them fall for the bullshit. So I shit talk fake Satoshi without mentioning the man, so that I can hopefully stop people from being scammed while not empowering the demon, right? This is a person that, to the best of my knowledge, has never been successful in his life ever, who has a bunch of fucking degrees from a place no one's ever heard of before, who collects them as though it was honorable. No intelligent person collects degrees instead of being productive and calls it honor. It's not, right?
I mean, it's something that the libertarians do. They say like those doctorates, they are not really valuable because they come from a state university, but
They can be. Like you can be a smart fucking guy, but if you think negative gamma exists and you think there can be a negative number of attackers trying to selfish mine, and you don't understand that the amount of time it takes to find the next block is 100% unrelated to the time it finds the last block, and you're wrong, intellectually wrong, multiple times, and when Vitalik Buterin himself has to yell on stage, why is this fraud allowed to speak here? What he is saying is nonsense, right? Does Vitalik seem like a combative kind of guy to you? Do you find him calling a lot of people out on bullshit all the time? No. He saved up all of his call people out on bullshit power for calling out one fucking guy. The guy you're talking about, who's a fucking retard. That guy. Go look up Negative Gamma or go look up the Cult of Craig GitHub and read all about fake Satoshi. It's all there. This is not a person sitting on a stack of 1 million Bitcoins. This is not a person that can write good code. This is not a person that can speak reasonably to other human beings. This is a piece of shit who I would not piss on if he were on fire. And I don't talk that way about anyone else. I don't like Garzik for being a bad coder and the things he's done. I don't like a lot of things other people have done, but I would piss on them if they're on fire. This particular guy, I would not. I would smell the barbecue.
And what would you say happened to Gavin Andresen that he confirmed him?
Being a good developer doesn't make you immune to scams. Smart people get scammed all the time. The set of skills that it takes to identify a lying bullshitter is wildly different than the set of skills it takes to build a consensus network. So it's like smart people get scammed all the time. Sorry, dude, you got scammed. It happens. We've all been scammed. So I've been scammed a lot, so I know what to look for. Like it checks all the boxes, right? Like, okay, which 100-person company did he found? Okay, nothing. Okay, who vouches for him from 10 years ago? All right, no one. All right.
I mean, I think Calvin Ayre, he already knew Calvin Ayre 10 years ago.
Who cares? Is Calvin a great guy? Just because you got money don't mean you're a great guy, dude. A lot of dictators got a lot of money. They're not great guys, right? Like, how is Calvin attacking the Bitcoin Cash Network honorable or useful to anyone? No, not useful to anyone. Just burn a lot of electricity. Just reduce the security.
I wouldn't
of
call it
Bitcoin.
attack. I would call it disagreement. Although, yeah, there was
No, it was
some
an
in the
attack.
hash war. You could call it attack. Yes.
No, when you purposely don't put in playback protection, replay protection, it is an attack. You're destroying someone else's network. Like, like,
if I look into the future, I think there are going to be more hash wars. Or do you think this was the last hash war?
I don't know. I mean, I have no idea. It seems like it's a very expensive way to win nothing. What do you win if you win? Nothing. You lose if you win, and you lose if you lose. There's no way to win a hash war. There's not.
I mean, let's say like Bitcoin Core had like 100 times the hash power of Bitcoin Cash. It would be really just a small endeavor to make sure that Bitcoin Hash isn't coming up in 10 years as a new competitor by just reordering their chain then.
I don't understand your question. Do it again.
Maybe I don't understand how Bitcoin works, but
Okay.
like say currently Bitcoin doesn't have like 100 times the hash power on their miners compared to Bitcoin.
As long as
Cash.
the market is efficient, you can always know what the hash power difference will be by looking at the price difference. Currently, I believe there is a 20-to-1 price difference, so there should be a 20-to-1 hash difference.
Yeah, but you only have to divert the hash power for 1 hour to divert the chain, to reorder the chain, and to...
Yeah, but you only get 6 blocks in an hour. And a 6-block reorg is like, I don't know. Like, look, if you're a minority chain and you can be 50%, 51% attacked at will, then no amount of extra blocks ever saves you. Ever. They can just reorder it anytime they want forever. These just like, I don't want to talk about shitcoins. I don't want to talk about a 2% hash rate unadopted price looks like this. I don't give a fuck about that. Like, I'd rather talk about a different shitcoin. I'd rather talk about MimbleWimble or Grin than fucking Bcash.
Okay.
Or
I think,
Bitcoin Cash shitty version SV.
Let's talk about Grin. I haven't done much research on it yet. What's
You
your?
don't have to, because it was mined by. So when Beam came out, it had 210,000 1080 Ti's of hash rate on it, and it has a founder's tax of 20%, and its inflation rate is high as fuck. Same with Grin. Grin has like multi-100% inflation rate for the first couple of years. So who gives a fuck? You want to lose money? Go lose money. So I don't care about Grin, and I don't care about Beam. Grin at least doesn't have a fucking founder's tax. Cool. But when I went to go turn on my 1080 Ti's, I'm like, nope. I'm good. Keep it. I see you guys have already taken all of what might have possibly been a little free money. Go ahead and keep it.
So they were lacking somebody with the expertise that you have when it comes to designing inflation rate, probably.
Well, no, maybe. So it's different. When you start a new shitcoin, you have an onboarding problem. You want to put on new users. Okay, how do you get new users to adopt? Well, you're not on any exchanges, or you're not airdropping like I am through a claim system. So how do you get new users? Oh, we'll let them mine, and then they'll come in over time, right? So for a new currency that doesn't have an airdrop mechanism to onboard new users, you kind of need to have mining in order to onboard new users. It's more important than the actual mining for security, because it's not traded anywhere, it doesn't have price, it's not accepted anywhere. If it fucking failed, who cares, right? Like, it's not actually doing anything in the real world. It's just like a speculative joke in the beginning. So if you're mining a new currency from nothing, you're getting 100% inflation from block 1 to block 2. And you're getting 50% inflation from block 2 to block 3. You're getting 25% inflation from block 3 to block 4, right? So like, and then every new block that comes out, it's a little bit less inflation, but it's still quite high, right? So I just don't think there's money to be made in new launches. Like, look at the inflation on ZEC. ZEC's annual inflation is still 45% now, and it's a coin that nobody uses for anything, and only 3% of its addresses actually have any anonymity at all. Only 3% shielded. It's garbage. It's always been garbage. But it didn't stop the price from dumping and then pumping a little bit and then dumping again, because the fucking price has no relationship to the utility of the project. So you can't short Grin, you can't short Beam, you can't buy them with liquidity on any exchange. I haven't even talked to anyone about them anywhere except this conversation, because I don't want people to waste their time on things that they just can't profit from, right? Like how are you going to get in? There's already 210,000 1080 Ti's. What the fuck are you going to get? You're not going to get shit. You're going to get an electric bill, right? So high inflation, everybody's mined the fuck out of it. There ain't nothing to be done there. If you need anonymity, use Monero. It works. This other stuff still has critical bugs. There's critical vulnerabilities just after launch day on Beam. So
yeah, but I think it's important that some people like you exist that talk about this, and I think there are too many, or there are so many other YouTubers, not too many, but that just hype certain coins, although they don't make sense.
Intelligence is hard to come by in most places. I don't understand. I don't understand why I'm one of the best Bitcoin OGs that you can find. There should be thousands of us. There were thousands of us when I started. So like, where'd everyone else go? Like, I don't know. Like, there should be more of me out there. It's weird that there's not.
I mean, it takes time to brand yourself with those videos. I mean, that's probably what you get back, right? And of course, the satisfaction of teaching people valuable stuff, but not everybody likes that. And most people are maybe like Gavin and Andreessen. They want to sit in front of the PC, do new stuff with software, and they don't like all the attention, and they have seen mostly the downsides of all the attention.
Could be, yeah. It was good talking to you. I'm gonna head off. If you would I guess we should pitch all our stuff. You want to pitch
Yep.
your stuff first?
Yeah, my channel is called Philosophy Workout. I talk about crypto recently and try to give my honest evaluation from a philosophical and economical standpoint, not so much the cryptographical details, because I'm not an expert in this.
All right. So I'm Richard Hart. I got 50,000 Twitter followers, 38,000 on YouTube. Got 5,600 in the Strape chat, which is our general chat, t.me/Strape, like strawberry grape. We got an amazing new cryptocurrency, should launch in 6 weeks now, when Monday hits. And that's BitcoinHex. Got chat, memes, news, t.me/BitcoinHex. What else? Got a book I wrote. It's like 460 pages called Sci-Vive. It's like how you can survive through science, but really it's just every good idea I've ever had about anything, pretty much. You can read that. It's free. It's an outline now. When it's fully edited and no longer an outline, it'll be for pay. You should save your own life. Donate to medical researches. Sens.org accepts cryptocurrency donations. There ain't nothing better you can do with your money. You may not need the medicine now. In 20 years you will. It takes about 20 years to figure it out. So every dollar you put in today, maybe when you actually need it, it'll be ready for you. Don't die like Steve Jobs. Rich, dead, lost the game, wouldn't trade places with him. If you want to use your money to trade and try and take other people's money from them, and you think that's a good use of your time, use my BitMEX link, you get 10% off. I think that's it.
Thank you for your time and
pleasure.
this introduction into Bitcoin Hex.
Thank you, man. Have a great night.
Have a great night.